All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the RS Sports Podcast. This is our first NBA show of the season, the new NBA season, I should say. So, if you are joining us on our YouTube live stream, I'll have the live chat up for the show. I'll be able to respond to some viewers' comments. If you are not watching YouTube, you can find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it here at the RS Sports Podcast. We love all the support. Since I started this a couple months ago, I've gotten so much support from family and friends. So it's great to keep this going. Like I did say, this is going to be our first NBA show of the new season. But before I do get into some NBA topics, I do have some very sad news to share with you guys. It's a very somber day, not only in the baseball world but in the sports world, as baseball legend Tommy Lasorda has died at the age of 93. He transcended the world of sports, and needless to say, this is just a great loss for the sports community. Tommy Lasorda was with the Dodgers for 71 seasons. I believe he was one of the most famous managers to ever manage a team in baseball. He was one of the greatest baseball personalities, one of the greatest sports personalities we've seen in a very long time. Oftentimes when I hear of people talking about Tommy Lasorda, they say, when you think of Dodger baseball, you think of Tommy Lasorda. I would take that a step further and say, when you think of baseball itself, you can't talk about baseball without mentioning a name like Tommy Lasorda. And that's how big he was to not only the baseball community, but the sports world. So this is a great loss for everyone in the sports world. We mourn the death of Tommy Lasorda at age 93. Tommy, I think I can speak for the sports world when we say we love you, we will miss you, and rest in peace, Tommy. You'll never be forgotten for those of us that not only love baseball but love sports. So moving on from that topic, I just did want to throw that out there just because, I know a lot of people are saddened by it. It just happened today. But moving on, we're going to move into our NBA topics. Now we're going to move on with our scheduled show. And the NBA has been in season for 2 weeks now. I know I haven't gotten shows to you because of the holidays and everything. Took a little bit of a break there. But I do want to first talk about the MVP race right now in the NBA season as it stands. 2 weeks in, I know this is going to change a lot probably throughout the entire season. But this is where it stands right now. So our MVP race, number one, we got LeBron James, 24.2 points per game right now in the season, 8.6 rebounds per game, 7.9 assists per game, 1 steal per game. At number two, we got Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, 27.6 points per game, 9 rebounds a game, 8 assists per game, 1 steal per game. At number three, and this is surprising. This is surprising to me. I don't know if it's going to be surprising to you guys. Paul George, number three in the MVP race, 24.6 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game, 4.8 assists per game, and 1.6 steals per game. At number four, we got Joel Embiid, who's just been balling for the Philadelphia 76ers. 24.6 points per game, 11.8 rebounds per game, 3.3 assists per game, 1.8 blocks per game, 1.1 steals per game. And at number five, Chef himself, Steph Curry, 29.6 points per game. 29.6 points per game, yep. 5.1 rebounds per game, 6.3 assists per game, and 1 steal per game. Now, there are some people that I'd throw onto this list other than Paul George. I like the rest of the list. There are plenty of people that I think are deserving of that spot for Paul George. The numbers might change if you take Paul George out of that race. At this point in the season, I think there can be plenty of guys that deserve this spot in the top five more than Paul George. I think Jason Tatum deserves a top five spot because he has just been balling for the Boston Celtics. Before the season started, and I might be a little biased. I got a Celtics jersey in the back here if you're watching YouTube. But the numbers don't lie. Jason Tatum has been playing out of his mind. I didn't expect the Celtics to start out, as decently as they did. The Celtics lost Gordon Hayward this offseason, but Jason Tatum has picked up right where he left off. So I think Jason Tatum deserves a top five spot in this MVP race. I think a guy quite possibly like Chris Paul could be in this conversation with the way he's been playing recently. I believe a guy like Jamal Murray could even be in this conversation. But I think if I had to choose, immediately when I read this on NBA.com, when I saw these 5 people, the list of 5 for the MVP race, I immediately thought, why is Jason Tatum not in the top 5 for an MVP race? I like the addition of Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid has improved this year so far. The Philadelphia 76ers have improved this year so far. Doc Rivers, great addition. I like the move. He's one of the best coaches in the league. And it shows because he's been in the league for so long. But I like the addition of Embiid. He's just been straight balling. The Philadelphia 76ers have been balling. So Embiid, I like. Steph Curry, he put up 62 the other night. Steph Curry's always going to be in the MVP conversation because he's Steph Curry. As long as Steph Curry's in the league, I'd say he's in the MVP conversation, at least top 10, because he's the greatest shooter we've ever seen in the NBA. And I will stand by that every day of the week if I have to. That Steph Curry is the best shooter we've ever seen in the NBA, with Larry Bird at a close second. But yeah, those are your top 5 for the MVP race. If I had to pick somebody now that I thought was going to win the MVP race, it's going to be the guy that I thought was going to win the MVP race before the season started, and that's Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic continues to improve in this league. He's so young, and that's what's going to make the Mavericks lethal. Everybody wants to talk about the Phoenix Suns because they got Chris Paul. Chris Paul's a bit older, right? The Phoenix Suns are good now. The Phoenix Suns are in a win now position. The Dallas Mavericks are in not only a win now position where they could be an underdog, they're in a win in the future position. You got 2 young guys leading that team in Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic. These 2 guys are going to lead the Mavericks to a championship at some point. I'm going to sit here and I will call it now that Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis are going to lead the Dallas Mavericks to a championship, if not in the next, I'll guarantee it. I'll say in the next 10 years, Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis are holding that Larry O'Brien trophy. That's how much faith I have at this point in Luka Doncic's career, because the numbers just continue to improve year by year. And Kristaps Porzingis is a top 10 center in the league, in my opinion. And sometimes he plays power forward. I think you could make the argument that Kristaps Porzingis is a top 20 player in the league. And not only that, they got a ton of role players on that team. Jalen Brunson has the ability to develop on that team. Just so many more weapons. I mean, this Dallas Mavericks team is in prime position to win in the future. They may not win it this year. They may not win the championship this year. They're going to go to the playoffs this year. They may not even go to the Western Conference Finals this year. But the Dallas Mavericks are a team to watch going forward, in my opinion. That's some people might disagree. Some people might say someone like Tatum, but I still say that Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis are going to take the league by storm. They're going to be the next LeBron and Wade, in my opinion. I mean, obviously not with the play styles are a bit different, but I want to point something out too. Absolute legend of the game, future Hall of Famer Paul Pierce pointed something out on NBA TV. Paul Pierce said that Luka Doncic reminds him of him and their styles. And watching Luka Doncic, I completely agree. Paul Pierce was someone that could almost get it all done. Paul Pierce was the guy you wanted on the court. Paul Pierce was a guy in 2008 when you had Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce on that team. They interviewed Kevin Garnett after that game, or after a game, and they said, what was the strategy tonight? Kevin Garnett said, give the ball to Paul Pierce and get the HE double hockey sticks out of the way. So that's the kind of attitude I can see someone like Kristaps having with Luka. Get the ball to Luka and get out of the way, right? Obviously, that's a little over exaggerated, but that's the kind of player that Luka is. Luka can do it all for you. LeBron in the top 5, that's always going to happen. LeBron's getting a little older. He's either 36 or 37. I can't remember now. I think he might have just turned 37. But he's still, a great athlete. He's still in the top 5 of the MVP race. He's still in prime position to lead the Lakers to at least going to the finals this year. There are some teams that could stop him. Don't get me wrong. There are some teams that could stop him. But, LeBron continues to ball out season after season after season. He is one of the greatest players we have seen in NBA history, and he will go down as a top 7 player in NBA history, I think. And obviously, I mentioned Steph Curry, and I mentioned Paul George. So let's get to some games to talk about from last night, Thursday night. Big game, the Nets and the Sixers, I think 2 of the front runners in the Eastern Conference right now. If not, and I had them going in before the season. I saw that the Sixers got Doc Rivers, and, I said, wow, that's a great pickup. And obviously KD and Kyrie. But I want to point something out, because this might be a little troublesome for the Sixers. The Nets won this game. They won it 122-109. And their leading scorers. Let's look at their leading scorers first. Joel Embiid had 20 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. Karis LeVert for Brooklyn had 22 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. Notice that I did not mention Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving as a top scorer. And here's why. Kevin Durant, he's out with COVID. He was near someone that had COVID. He had the quarantines, so he's out quarantining. Kyrie Irving was out for personal reasons. No one knows what he was out for. He said he was out for personal reasons. Point being, the Brooklyn Nets beat the Sixers by 12 without their 2 stars, right? So what does that tell you about the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that basically has rolled over the Eastern Conference in the first 7 games? Obviously you're going to have a bad game here and there, but this was a game that the Sixers should have won. This might be a little bit more important than people think when you look at a game like this. The Sixers have improved tremendously, but this might be a trouble warning. Let's look at some of these teams right now in the Eastern Conference. I can see a team like Boston being a threat to the Sixers. I can see a team like the Bucks being a threat to the Sixers. I can see a team like the Heat being a threat to the Sixers. I can see a team like the Raptors being a threat to the Sixers if this continues. Before this game, I had utter faith in the Philadelphia 76ers. I thought they were one of the best teams in the league. After last night, not so much looking at the 76ers. Solely because they lost by 12 to the Nets, who didn't have Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. That's a little, that raises some red flags in my book. But, obviously they're still a playoff team. Obviously they're still a contender in the Eastern Conference. We'll see if they can pick it up just a little bit. Next game that I want to talk about is, let me see here. Yes, the Dallas Mavericks are now 4-4 of the Denver Nuggets, who are now 3-5, 124-117. This game went into overtime. Luka Doncic, that is a bad man. 38 points, 9 rebounds, 13 assists. And he went head-to-head with Nikola Jokic, who put up 38, 11, and 4. 11 rebounds, that is. My word, what a battle. This has the contender. This is a contentionship to be game of the year. I mean, you got a guy like Luka Doncic and a guy like Nikola Jokic. These are 2 of the younger stars in the league, and these guys are going to be the people that carry the league into the next generation. These guys are fun to watch. This game goes into overtime. Mavericks get the win. Mavericks are now 4-4. And the Mavericks, like I said, are a team that I can see coming from behind and possibly making the Western Conference Finals, if not making the finals this year. This is a team that is going, again, I said, this is a team that's going to be deadly this year. This is a team that is just, look out for the Dallas Mavericks. And they're under the radar, too. That makes them, you know how much confidence that adds when people aren't confident in you, especially in a major sports league? That adds an enormous amount of confidence when you got people that don't believe in the Dallas Mavericks. They're flying under the radar right now, and they're winning some games. They may have started out bad, in the season. They may have started out losing a couple games, but they brought it back to 4-4, and it's a young season. I'm telling you what, Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, don't mess with that duo. Don't underestimate that duo. They are going to be, the duo to beat for years to come. Years to come. So, and as far as the Denver Nuggets go, they're 3-5. Again, it's a young season. Denver Nuggets are another young team to look out for. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., Paul Millsap. They got a good team in there with him. Gary Harris. This is a team that you don't want to mess with either. These are two of the powerhouse Western Conference teams coming up. And you notice I don't put the Lakers in that conversation or a team like the Suns, because it's the exact same point. LeBron's 37. Chris Paul is also up there in age. The Lakers and the Suns are a win-now team. When LeBron leaves, and some people may disagree with me on this, when LeBron leaves, the Lakers aren't going to be good anymore. They'll have Anthony Davis, but the Lakers won't be good anymore. I'd have trouble believing that the Lakers would be a playoff team when LeBron leaves. Because let's look at this, right? Before Anthony Davis was in LA, LeBron missed the playoffs for the first time in, 18 years? He missed the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. So who's to say that when LeBron leaves, that Anthony Davis is going to be able to carry the team? Because I think right now LeBron's a better player than Anthony Davis. I mean, anything's possible. They might be able to slip in at an 8 seed. But again, 2 with the Suns. When Chris Paul leaves, you're going to have Ayton and you're going to have Devin Booker. That's a playoff team. It's not a championship team, though, to me. They need one more piece. And, maybe they can pick it up in the draft. But I'm telling you that the Dallas Mavericks are the future of the league. That is just plain and simple. The Dallas Mavericks are the future of the league. And, if someone can prove me wrong, be my guest. But, again, the numbers don't lie for themselves. Dallas Mavericks, they're going to be coming. And like I said, the Denver Nuggets too, they're another young team that's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Western Conference. Let me make sure that was the – okay. The Spurs over the Lakers. The Spurs are now 4-4. The Lakers are now 6-3. 118-109. LaMarcus Aldridge had 28 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. LeBron scored 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 12 assists. 118-109. Again, you're going to lose some games in this league. Spurs are 4-4. They're not the best team in the league right now. Lakers are one of the best teams in the league right now. But again, you're going to lose some games, right? It's the same thing with the Sixers. It's a little troublesome. It raises some red flags. But it's not. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I still think the Lakers are going to be competing for that Western Conference title when it's all said and done. Everybody's going to have losses in this season. In the NBA, you can't sweat a loss. It's not like the NFL where one loss can change an entire season, right? Granted, at the end of the year, if you're playing for a playoff spot, that's when things get a little crazy. When one win could change your season in the NBA, but early on like this, one loss isn't going to change much. The Lakers are still a force to be reckoned with in this league presently. And those were the 3 games I wanted to go over from last night. Also, some big news before I look at the conferences. Markelle Fultz has been the leader of this Magic squad, who are now 6-2, number 2 in the Eastern Conference. Markelle Fultz is done for the year towards ACL. And it's a shame to see that because, Markelle Fultz improved so much since last year. He was playing very, very well. And it's just really a shame to see someone like Markelle Fultz and his season end so quickly. Hopefully, maybe the Magic can get back in the playoffs and maybe Markelle Fultz can play in the playoffs. But it's just a shame that Markelle Fultz got injured like this after having such a great start to the season. Let's look at these conference standings, though. This is going to be one of our last segments here. In the Eastern Conference, we got the Sixers, who are now 7-1 at number 1. The Magic at 2, 6-2. Pacers at 3, 6-2. Celtics at 4, 5-3. Knicks at 5, 4-3. They're surprising a lot of people this year. At number 6, the Bucks are 4-3, and at number 7, the Hawks are 4-3, and finally at number 8, the Nets are 4-4, and the Nets are going to improve. The Nets are going to move up, and I'll start with talking about the Eastern Conference. I think the Knicks are going to drop. I think the Nets are going to move up. I think the Cavaliers are 9 right now. They're going to stay down. I think Pacers are going to drop. But while we're talking about the Celtics, I do want to talk about something with the Celtics. They won the other night. I believe they beat the Heat. And I rarely ever say this about a guy, and again, I may be a little biased when I say this, but I watched the back end of that game. This guy for the Boston Celtics, Peyton Pritchard, off the bench, is a scrappy young player, and I like to see it. This is a guy who has potential, to be a starter in the future years in Boston. This is a guy that has the potential to be the future of the Boston Celtics. Peyton Pritchard, look out for this guy. He scores the game winner, and he's been making noise this year. He sort of come out of nowhere. I believe they drafted him this year, but he's making noise right now. And he could be a big star in the future of this Boston Celtics organization. You hear some noise about maybe trading Jaylen Brown for James Harden, and you could be, if they trade a guy like Jaylen Brown and someone else for James Harden, Pritchard is going to have a bigger role in this Celtics organization. And again, before the season started, and I'm a Celtics fan, I did not see the Celtics, playing as good as they are right now. The Celtics are surprising me a little bit with the way they're playing. They're playing scrappy. They're playing hungry. And this is some good basketball that I'm seeing out of Boston right now. But I just wanted to throw that out there. I watched that Heat game the other night. Peyton Pritchard, man, he is the guy to watch in Boston right now. And I rarely ever say that about a guy coming off the bench too. But Celtics fans, take notice of this guy, Peyton Pritchard, coming off the bench. I like to see it. But again, I think the Knicks are going to drop. I think the Bucks are going to move up. I think the Hawks are a force to be reckoned with this year. I think they're an underdog in the Eastern Conference, and this is the Hawks are going to move up. I can see them quite possibly moving up to. They're at 7 now. I could see them moving up to 5 or 6, at least 1 or 2 spots. Trae Young playing very, very well this season. He's improving. He's another young star in this league. Clint Capella, he might be underrated, guys. I don't know. Clint Capella might be an underrated center in this league. He might be someone to watch. And just that Hawks team as a whole, they're another team that plays scrappy. And that's a force. They could be a force to be reckoned with in the NBA. Obviously, the Nets are going to move up. And the Pacers are probably going to drop. The Sixers, I think, might drop 1 or 2 spots by the end of the year. But I think the Sixers are going to be a top team in the East. Before we move to the Western Conference, we got a comment. Lex says, who do you think will make it to the Super Bowl? Lex, thank you for that comment. I've said it all year. Let me go off course a little bit with the NBA. I'll talk about the Western Conference in 1 second. I do want to respond to this comment. So Lex says, who do I think will make the Super Bowl? And Lex, thank you for that question. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to make it to the Super Bowl, and I think they will be playing the New Orleans Saints. We'll have to see. That's why I'm taking it 1 week at a time, right? This wild card weekend, things could change, and I don't want to have my predictions, be completely wrong. Then I won't have anything to talk about in the coming weeks. But Lex, to answer your question, I see the Chiefs and the Saints playing, and I give the edge to the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs win their 2nd straight Super Bowl. Thank you for that question, and thank you for tuning in. Now to the Western Conference of the NBA, and ironic that the 2 teams that I was talking about are the 2 teams that are atop the Western Conference right now: the Suns and the Lakers. Now, these 2 teams, again, I said it before, they are good teams presently. They are going to be good now. They are win now teams. Chris Paul, great player now. LeBron James, great player now. But they're a little bit older, right? They're going to be leaving soon. But I said that enough. Give me 1 second. Okay, so we got Clippers. The Clippers are at 3. The Pelicans are at 4. The Jazz are at 5. The Warriors are at 6. The Blazers are at 7. The Kings are at 8. Oh no, the Blazers and the Kings are tied for 7th at 4-4. Team that's really surprised me in the Western Conference this year, the New Orleans Pelicans. They really are. Zion Williamson, Lonzo Ball, J.J. Redick, they got a lot of weapons there. Brandon Ingram's playing out of his mind. So I think the Pelicans can move up could actually sit at that top 5 spot. And a team that's not in the conversation right now, they're at 9, the Mavericks. I think that the Mavericks can move up to a top 6 spot. I think the Mavericks could end up being the 6th seed. Let's see. What else? I think the Suns are going to stay in that top 4 spot. And I think the Clippers might drop a little bit. I think the Jazz might drop a little bit. And I think the Warriors might drop a little bit. We'll have to see. I think the Blazers are showing some promise. They might move up a little bit. But again, we'll have to see. And that was my last topic for today, guys. So that was a quick and easy show, at least on my end. But I'm glad I got the show in. I'm glad I get to bring this to you guys twice a week now. We're rocking and rolling. We got 2 leagues going right now. So if you guys enjoyed this podcast and this NBA show and you want to see more just like it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Smash that like button for me. And, go ahead and tune in on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast, every Wednesday and Friday. Wednesdays, again, will be my NBA or my NFL show. And Friday will be my NBA show right here on YouTube. I'll be live streaming it. And again, thank you to everybody for the support. When I started this a couple months ago, I've gotten so much support. Lex, thank you for the sub. Man, it's crazy. And I thank everybody for the support. But again, every Wednesday and Friday, tune in on Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast, or go ahead and hop into live on YouTube. You can interact with me with our live chat. This has been your edition of the RS Sports Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys.